One of the best filters for looking at whether or not to invest in your business is to understand, is this something that is going to fill what I'm not naturally good at? And you might be doing yourself a disservice if you don't find a way to fill in those gaps.
You're listening to Thrive by Design, business, marketing, and lifestyle strategies for your jewelry brand to flourish and thrive. Let's get started.
Hey, welcome to the Thrive by Design podcast. It's Tracy Matthews here, the Chief Visionary Officer over at Flourish and Thrive Academy. And today I have a special episode for you. It's episode 120, and today we're going to talk about how to invest in your business when the bank account is saying no. So I'm really excited about this episode for a lot of reasons. I'm going to share a very personal and probably emotional story. So please forgive me if I cry during this episode. And I am excited to share this with you because it's something that as I've grown my business and decided like how I'm investing my money back into my business, sort of the filter, I'm going to share with you kind of the filter that I look through in order to decide, number one, if this is a good idea. And number two, how to actually make that investment work when you aren't really sure. So it's not rocket science here. I know a lot of you have expressed interest in doing some of our programs over here at Flourish and Thrive, and most recently investing in our SOS Accelerator Coaching Program that's all about digital marketing. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that momentarily, but if you haven't downloaded it yet, make sure that you download our Momentum Marketing Scorecard. It's a digital marketing scorecard that's going to help you evaluate where you are in your digital marketing strategy and in the digital marketing game. So I don't know about you, but I hear designers telling me all the time saying that, they're tired of doing shows. They're tired of selling to stores. They're tired of doing consignment, like whatever it is. They just really want to be able to sell through their website. So they put up a website and then it just expect people to come. But it takes a lot more than that. So I wanted to create this scorecard as a gift to you. And we will eventually be selling it. In fact, some people told me I was crazy to give this away for free. So you should definitely make sure that you download it. Head on over to flourishthriveacademy.com/marketing scorecard. That's flourishthriveacademy.com/marketing scorecard. It's going to show you where you are in the marketing game. So if you are really trying to sell more online, this is a must have. And we're pulling it down probably within the next month, and we'll be charging for it. So if you want to get it for free, grab it now. Smart choice. So I'm going to share a really personal story with you, but I'm going to backtrack a little bit first. So over the years, many of you know that I've been in business for over 25 years in the jewelry industry. I started my business totally bootstrapping it, selling in the fashion world and creating a bridge line of jewelry that I sold to retail stores around the world. There were many times in the growth of my business that I wanted to invest in things like trade shows, in consultants, in events, like different things that actually cost a lot of upfront money in order to actually make a return on investment and actually make your money back. And it was a risk a lot of times because sometimes, you'd invest in participating in some sort of trunk show that was on a weekend. The promoters promised tons of traffic and then the show went flat and you ended up spending a couple $1,000s and ended up making hardly any sales. I can't tell you how many times I've done that. And there were times when it was time to invest in trade shows. And I'd started doing some trade shows and they'd proven to be really good. And we realized that we had to get at least at that time, about a 5-time return on the investment of doing the show. So I started adding more shows. And there was a time when I started adding shows a little bit frivolously. So I had to really evaluate which trade shows that I was going to participate in and based on what my estimate for my return on investment was going to be. And also evaluate, was this a good time to add the show? Was the investment a good investment, etc. So I'm going to walk you through some of the things that I've done to kind of decide whether or not something is good or whether or not something is not good to invest in for your business. And this sort of runs the gamut of a lot of different things. So I'm going to be talking about business here, but a lot of this is also investment in yourself. For those of you who are doing this on your own, you have your own business, you're trying to grow it on your own, can understand that sometimes a business investment is also an investment in yourself, in your personal growth. And I'm a huge proponent of this. In fact, had I not made what seemed like a very risky choice about 7 or 8 years ago to invest in this online program called B School with Marie Forleo, I would probably not be here today teaching any of you. And I probably would still be teaching yoga and have not as successful of a jewelry business, because I learned a lot about what I needed to do to get myself out there and in front of people who weren't going to find me just by running into me or via word of mouth. So I'm really excited for this episode today, and I can't wait to share more with you. But first, over this last couple of weeks, or this last week, I should say, I've had 5 sleepless nights in a row. I think the last 2 nights, I finally got a good night's sleep. I was just exhausted and stressed and worried. And I had sleepless nights because I decided to really level up and make a huge investment in myself, which is ultimately a huge investment in my business. And, I get it. Like, I'm right there with you guys. I know that when you're deciding, whether or not you want to take a course with us, or whether or not you want to become part of our membership, the Diamond Insiders, or whether or not you want to invest in a program like the SOS Accelerator, that sometimes you need to think it through and you need to decide, is this really going to be a good investment for me? And am I going to get a return on investment? So I'm going to backtrack a little bit because it will make more sense. So I've been in the apartment that I live in New York City for 5 years, but I've been in this building for 10 years. I've always lived in the West Village. In fact, I'm coming up on my 11-year anniversary here in New York next week when this episode airs. I think I moved here on October 30th, 2006, to be specific. And, I knew that when I moved here, I wanted to live in the West Village. I love the West Village. I love the community. I love the charm of the neighborhood. I loved that it felt like San Francisco, which was the city that I was coming from, or it was like the closest thing you could get to San Francisco besides Brooklyn. It has all the best restaurants in town, has the coolest vibe, the best shopping, like pretty much everything that you'd want in a city, I felt like was in this neighborhood. So I've been really attached to living here. And about 2 years ago, I started becoming really unhappy in this apartment that I'm in. In New York, spaces are small, and I've been in this small 500 square foot, 2-bedroom apartment for the last 5 years. And I just feel like I'm sort of growing out of it, if that makes sense. And I work from home. And so my home environment is really important for me to be able to feel inspired, to be able to bring you guys these amazing podcasts, to be able to come up with trainings and ideas, and to also be able to create for my jewelry. But the problem is when you feel uninspired when you're at home and you work from home, it's hard to be productive. So I started putting feelers out to start looking for a new apartment, but I was really ultimately kind of putting my life on hold, because I was like, well, when this happens, I'll make that move. Or if I don't want to move into a new place, because what if I end up in a relationship and we end up moving together? I mean, that's like a really personal revelation. Or what if I, decide I want to move out of New York and I make this investment in moving and buy all new furniture? Is that a good idea? So ultimately, I was putting my life on hold. And I was reminded of this when I got an email the other day from my dance teacher, Patricia Moreno. She runs a program called Sati 365, and she sends really inspirational emails out about, living your best life, essentially. And she said the title of the email was something along the lines of, how are you putting your life on hold? I got this last week, and I was just like, Tracy, you're putting your life on hold. You have to make a change. And a couple days before, I'd gotten my lease renewal in the mail, and I was like, it's time for me to move. But I know how expensive it is in New York, and I know what the rents are. And if I move, I am going to probably be, this is what I'm thinking to myself, I'm probably going to be at least doubling my rent. And I didn't necessarily want to do that because, I'm a smart business person. I run my business on a shoestring. I don't like spending extra money when I don't have to. Plus, I do like to do other things like travel the world. I love to shop. I love clothing. I'm a typical adventurous girl living in a city. I like to be able to afford to do all those things. So when it came down to going on this apartment hunt, I was stressed and scared and nervous, but also very excited. So I went to look in this new development over in Hudson Yards, and I walked into the building and I was like, this is home. And I found my apartment. And I'm telling you this because, I found the apartment. I'm in the leasing office. I'm filling out all this paperwork. She sends me the lease the next day, and I'm about to make a huge down payment on this place. And I started having a panic attack. What are you doing? This is so much money. You're going to have to buy all new furniture. You're going to have to you're going to have to completely up-level your life, and it's going to cost you a ton of money. And you're at a space right now where you're really comfortable. You're going to be pushing yourself way out of your comfort zone. way out of your comfort zone. But every time I thought of being in that apartment and living there and the light that was streaming in and the size of the place and the walk-in closets and all these things that would add so much value to my life and my creativity and my business ultimately, right? I was like, I have to figure out a way to do this. And every night before I would go to bed, have a glass of wine because I was trying to calm down. But what ended up happening is I would get these huge rushes of adrenaline and I could not fall asleep. Or vice versa, I would wake up in the middle of the night with these huge rushes of adrenaline thinking about how was I going to do this? And I was stressed, guys, because this is a big commitment for me, for someone who's lived a very comfortable life here in New York. I'm really leveling up and I got to make some things happen. So I'm like, okay, let's think this through. You can work it out because this is going to be really important for you to get to your next level in life and in business. And so you got to figure out a way to do it. So, and it's not really about the money in my bank account because I have plenty of money to really invest in this place. But at the end of the day, what it's really about is getting out of my comfort zone. And it's a little bit about the investment because, I'm going to have to make more money in my jewelry business, a lot more, and actually feel comfortable making this investment. So I'm going to have to really level up. And so I got on the phone with my finance guy and we walked through some numbers. And I was like, do you think I can do this? I want to move. And I thought for sure, 100% he was going to say no. But he just showed me the way. He's like, here's what you're going to have to do. Yes, you're going to have to make a little bit more money. But if we do this, X, Y, and Z, and we can improve our profitability by this much, here's how we can do it. And I was just like, oh my God, it's that simple. And so when I think back, on my life and my career in growing multiple businesses over the course of 25 years, anytime I've ever wanted to invest in something, I didn't realize it, but I was going sort of through this same process. So I wanted to share with you sort of how I evaluate whether or not something is a good idea and you should invest in something for yourself or your business. And this has been the same process I've gone through when I hired my expensive consultants, Phil over at Cathedral Consulting back in the day. Unfortunately, I've mentioned this before, but Phil passed away a few years ago. But I said no to Phil 3 or 4 times before I actually made the investment. It was a $1,500 a month investment to have these consultants come in for 2 calls a month. That was it. We got 2 calls a month and they gave us email support, but that was it. It was calls or meetings. I can't remember, but we did do in-person meetings. That to me at that time seemed like so much money. I was like, how am I going to be able to make that investment? That was one of the best investments I've ever made in myself or my business ever. And at that time, there were many months when I had a negative bank account balance because of what was going on in the economy. And that investment changed my life because it put me on this trajectory of really understanding where my gaps were in business. And this is all. So I want to tie this back to the marketing scorecard because a lot of us have gaps in life and business. As visionaries or leaders of our companies, we oftentimes have a lot of creativity and we have a lot of good ideas, but there are things that we're not so good at. We might be able to handle a majority of the stuff, but there are things that totally weigh us down, we don't feel like doing, or they, aren't necessarily in our wheelhouse of skill set. And so when we sit down to actually do them, it might take us 5 times longer as it would someone else who understands it. Or another way to look at it is that, you don't know what you don't know. Robin loves to say this all the time. And so if you're not clearly identifying what your gaps are and how you can fill in those spaces, then you might be just running your business blindly. And so that's one of the reasons why I developed this marketing scorecard. And also another reason why we decided to launch our SOS Accelerator program, because we had a lot of designers coming to us saying that they put up a website, they're trying to grow their online business, they're trying to get to that next level in sales, but they didn't understand why no one was shopping on their website. And they had a lot of traffic, and I'm using air quotes right there. They had a lot of traffic. I remember someone telling me that they were getting a ton of traffic to their site. And so I said, how many visitors are you getting a month? And she said, oh, I've had 35 visitors this month. So this is a sidebar, but I just want to give you this little marketing tip that for every 100 visitors, a good conversion would be 1 sale. So if you think of the economy scale, you need a lot of traffic getting to your site, but you also need to convert that traffic into a sale. So this is a conversation for another episode. I've recorded a couple of episodes from our live event. I think episode 117 and 118, kind of about this stuff. And I'm going to be following up with some more episodes. So I'm not going to go off the weeds here in that direction. But my point being is that a lot of times, one of the best filters for looking at whether or not to invest in your business or yourself is to understand, like, is this something that is going to fill my gaps? Does that make sense, guys? Like, is this going to help me fill what I'm not naturally good at? And so you probably have the creativity piece done. You probably have the idea piece done. You might even have the sales piece done, but there's a lot of these other things that you really don't know about. And you might be doing yourself a disservice if you don't find a way to fill in those gaps. And that's what I'm going to talk about today, about this sort of like investing in your business and when to figure out, or how to figure out how to do it when your bank account is saying no. So let's see. All right. So the first thing that you want to do is analyze your numbers. So you might be like, Dad, that seems like the most basic thing, Tracy, but I want you to really look at your numbers and analyze like where the money's coming in from, how much your cost of goods are, how much you're paying for things that you really don't need, because this happens a lot. We are sometimes the first to buy a ton of tools or a ton of gemstones or a ton of beads or metal, gold to make jewelry, but we have no place to sell them. And it's not like we're ordering this stuff because we have all the orders coming in. A lot of it's just like, oh, I want to play, I want to create, I want to make. And you're not really thinking strategically how you're going to actually sell it. So a lot of times people say that they don't have the money, but they are really not thinking strategically about analyzing their numbers because they're still spending that same money, but on things that maybe they don't need. So this was a huge topic at our live event. Justin went through this a lot in his talk about Money You Got This, about knowing when to invest in your business and how to grow it. And I think that, a lot of us are sitting on a lot of extra inventory that's just sitting on the shelves and we're not doing anything with it. So, and that all came about because you're spending money on stuff that you don't really need to grow your business in the immediate future. So I want you to start by just analyzing your numbers. Take a look at what's coming in, take a look at what you're spending every month, and take a look at what's left over. And you can extend this into your personal life too, because what flows through business sometimes flows through personal. So let's say you're going out to dinner a lot or you're buying coffee at Starbucks every day. Like, how can you cut back and maybe have coffee at home or make coffee at your day job if you have a day job, if you're not doing this full time? I know that I like getting out of my apartment because I'm in here all day, and I like to go to the coffee shop in the morning to get out. But if there was ever a time when I really needed and wanted something and needed to cut back quickly, that would be the first thing that I cut back on. In fact, in the winter, it's the first thing that I cut back on because I don't want to walk into the snow. But anyway, really take a look at what you have, get hard numbers, understand what your cost of good, what your margins are, how much money's coming in, how much is going out. And then that will kind of filter into the next step, which is to know your break-even point. So one of the most important things that we need to do as business owners is to be really crystal clear on what it's going to take to actually be able to run our business and break even while paying ourselves and making the investments that we want to make. So one of the exercises that I did recently with my finance guy when I decided that I wanted to move into this apartment was to take a look at and analyze the numbers, but then also take a look at what I needed to do to break even. And when it all came down to it, it really wasn't that much. Adding on this extra expense, I didn't have to really do much. I just had to come up with an extra couple $1,000s a month in profitability. And across my two businesses, that isn't that hard. And I say profitability because that's really what it's about. It's not necessarily always about making more money. It's about profitability. So find out your break-even point and understand exactly what it is that you need to do in order to actually make whatever it is that you want, that investment in your business, that investment in yourself, to actually happen. And once you do that, I like to say this, knowledge is power. You've heard other people obviously say it, but the clearer you can get on the numbers and, any numbers, metrics, everything, the more power you have to understand what it is that you can actually do. And the less flying by the seat of your pants is going to happen. So I just want to remind you that you need to know your break even point and know what it would actually take. So if you want to make an investment in a trade show, if you want to make an investment in something like our SOS Accelerator program, which is an investment, or if you want to hire a consultant to work inside your business or do that next trade show, whatever it might be, these are all things that you need to do in order to understand what it will actually take to make that investment. The next thing that I think is really important is to cut your expenses. Coffees, I mentioned this before, coffees at Starbucks, dinners out, and all the things that you don't need. I don't know about you, but I audited my personal bank account and I had like 5 subscriptions to different video streaming services like Hulu, Netflix, HBO Now, Showtime. I'm laughing so hard because I'm like, oh, I'm going to save money by not having a cable bill. But I basically have the cable bill just in a different way. So a lot of times those things, like if you haven't used it or watched it in a long time, you can cut the things that you aren't actually using. And there could be other things in your life that you could potentially cut back on in order to increase your profitability so you can make an investment in whatever it is that you want to do. The next step is that this might seem obvious, but all you have to do is make more money. And I'm laughing about this because that might seem like just a silly thing to say, but sometimes making an investment in something might just come down to selling 1 more engagement ring a month, or 5 necklaces, or a couple of pair of earrings, or putting in an app on your Shopify site where you can start upselling products, or setting up an abandoned cart sequence where you're recapturing 35% of the people abandoning your carts. It could be reaching out to some friends and family members and just offering some sort of special to them for being friends and family, and selling just something as simple as like 5 pieces of jewelry a month to make that investment. And I think that this is a really important thing to remember, is that when we kind of feel overwhelmed by making an investment in ourselves or our businesses, we sometimes get overwhelmed in the fact that it's going to cost more money instead of thinking strategically about how we can actually make that investment. Do you understand the difference there? And whenever I'm in that state of overwhelm, like, how am I going to do this? It's so much money, blah, 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 blah. I always have to step back for a minute. Okay, like let's approach this a different way. How can I make this happen? So maybe that's a saying you need to have in your vocabulary. It's like, how can you make this happen? Because quite frankly, it's probably a lot easier than you think. And it's probably not as much work as you think if you could just do that. I remember there have been a couple designers who have said this, and I can't remember all of their names specifically, but when we were opening intake for our Diamond Insiders, after laying the foundation course and in the spring, we had a couple designers just come straight from LTF. And then we had another intake of new designers who had never taken laying the foundation, etc. One of them, I think it was Kristen Scholl, said something, I might be wrong. So sorry, Kristen, if you're listening to this, if I'm getting this wrong, I apologize, but it was someone, if it's not you, said something like, within the first month, I made back my investment in joining your Diamond Insiders program just based on one strategy that one of the other designers super shared. So think about it that way. Like, this is huge. Like, if you could take away one thing by making an investment with someone or something, or a coaching program like our SOS Accelerator that is going to make you back the income that the investment that you earned right away, would it be worth it to you? And same thing here. Like, when I move into this new apartment, I'm not saying if, because I already signed the lease. When I move into this new apartment, I know that I'm going to be generating more income because I will be able to have a place that I feel comfortable meeting clients with in the common space of my building. I will have an opportunity to entertain people. I'm going to have an opportunity to shoot way better videos because I'm going to have like a beautifully furnished apartment. And I'm going to it's going to really expand and open things up for me. So when I started strategically thinking about it that way, I knew that I was going to be able to rise to the occasion and make it work. So I want you to think strategically about what you need to do, like how you can make a little bit more money in order to make whatever it is that you want to invest in happen. And then the next step is to brainstorm. So first is like make more money, and it could be simple, like, just selling 5 more pieces of jewelry. But the other thing is to brainstorm, sit down and brainstorm ideas about how you can generate cash income and make the investment easy. So I want to give this exercise credit to Denise Duffield Thomas of Lucky Bitch Money Bootcamp. I learned this technique from her a couple of years ago. And it's not like it's total rocket science or anything, but it's something that we often forget about. And so she's like, when you want to make the investment in something, or you need to come up with money for X, Y, and Z, to sit down and do a brainstorm. So figure out, like, write down a number that you need to come up with, and then brainstorm different people you can call, different ways you can market and promote your work, different selling techniques, different things that you could pick up. Because when you sit down and do this exercise, you'll find that there is a lot more money out there that you're leaving on the table that you might not be thinking about in ways to generate more sales and revenue for your business that will ultimately allow you to make the investment in your to make the investment in whatever it is that you want to invest in and in yourself, which I think is important. So make sure that you brainstorm. You could sit down, set a timer for 15 minutes, write it out. Anytime I'm feeling stuck, I do this same exercise, even to this day. And I feel like I'm pretty good at, manifesting anything that I want, but sometimes I still get stuck. So if you're ever feeling stuck and you really want to do something, I really encourage you to do an exercise like this because I think it's important. And then step 6 in this whole process is to consider the return on investment. So a lot of us get so caught up in the upfront investment that we don't think about what will come on the other side after we invest in ourselves and in our business. So here's what I mean. Take a look at where you are now in business. Now imagine yourself a year from now. Where do you want to be? So if you're starting to visualize and thinking about your goals, maybe it's that you want to be waking up every morning to an inbox full of orders, or maybe it's that you want to be increasing your sales revenue by 50%. Some of the designers, I was speaking with someone last night who joined our SOS. She basically wants to 10x her sales next year. She has high price point jewelry and she definitely would have the possibility to hit that ROI. She had some personal life issues that sort of gave her a setback. But the numbers at the end of the year, the numbers where she is now, she wants to 10x where she is now at this time next year. So there are a lot of ways that you can do that. But I want you to think about, if you don't get help and you keep doing the same thing, are you going to be able to reach those goals and the things that you want? So a lot of you are working full-time jobs and you want to do your jewelry business full-time eventually. I was talking with 2 of the designers who ended up signing up for the SOS, Toby Miles and also Cheryl Fuchs. And Cheryl has a really great business and her passion is really sailing. And so she has this goal that in, I think it's 2 years, she wants to completely quit her job, and her and her husband are going to go live on their sailboat. And she wants to have a business that she can work remotely from the sailboat where she's making sales exclusively online. And that's how she's running her business. And she has a remote team on shore that can ship the orders and get things out. But this is her goal and her vision of what she wants to do. And she realized that she has to get some help in order to do it, because with the limited amount of time that she has working a full-time job and doing all the things that she has to do, she knows that it's going to be really hard to get there on her own. And when I was talking with Toby Miles yesterday, it's really amazing. She has a very specific niche audience, and she's, really wanting to be able to retire when her husband retires and, do her business full time and be able to pick up and ride whenever she wants. And, she's looking at the long game. She is a little bit newer in business. She has a really great brand that's really focuses on a niche audience, women who ride motorcycles, which I think is amazing. And she's focused. She's taking the action. She's taking the steps. And she knows that making this investment in herself is going to be the thing that's going to get her the return on investment in a year. And even after that, to sort of tip the needle so that she can reach some of her goals. And I want to remind you of this. If you keep doing the same thing, are you going to be in the same place next year? This is why considering how and what to invest in yourself and in your business is really important, because if that investment can get you to the next step, can help you reach your sales goal, can help you figure out what you don't know that's blocking sales on your website, can help you get the traffic that's coming to your website to actually convert better. If you're someone who wants to actually be selling online and that's your business model. And I always like to remind people that there are 2 types of designers. So the ones who sit back and complain and never really reach their goals because they're, doing the same thing over and over and over again. And there are those designers and makers and jewelers who are ready and willing to do whatever it takes to get to that next level. And you have to be willing to take that risk to get to the next level, to up-level yourself. And so bringing this all full circle, when I was making this big decision to invest in myself and to invest in my business and to take this big leap, it was really scary. I was like, what's going to happen if I made a mistake? But now I feel really confident in my decision because I know what it's going to take to get there, and I'm willing to take the steps to make my dreams a reality. And what that's going to happen is for you is that now I'm improving my living environment, improving my work environment. I'm going to show up better for the people here at Flourish and Thrive Academy. I know that my jewelry business is just going to expand and grow. And I have complete confidence that it's just going to continue on this upward spiral. So I just want to remind you that if there is something that you really want to invest in your business, whether it be business support or something else, I want you to think strategically about how you can make that investment, even when your bank account is saying no, because the chances are that where there's a will, there's a way, and you need to think strategically about it. So I want to recap these things. Number 1, analyze your numbers. Number 2, know your break-even point. This is really important. Number 3, cut your expenses that you don't need. A lot of us spend a couple dollars here and there on frivolous things. Like, cut those things back. Make more money. Number 4, that's really important. But sometimes making more money isn't as hard as you think. If you could just outreach to a couple of people, you can easily sell a couple more pieces of jewelry every single month. The 5th is to brainstorm different ways that you can make money with your business. And this is really important because sometimes we're thinking only about the one way when we have a box of old inventory sitting on the shelf that we could get rid of, and that could bring in a ton of cash flow. Over the past, I didn't use this example earlier, but over the past month, a lot of the designers in our mastermind and our Diamond Insiders community have been sharing strategies that they've done to make a ton of money. Like Lisa Lehman shared her Facebook Live strategy. She ended up having a $7,000 Facebook Live sale, just marketed to her existing customers, selling off inventory that was sitting in her shop, old inventory. Sarah D'Angelo is launching a new collection and moving in a new direction with her business, and she wants to be exclusively selling online. And she did a Facebook Live sale to get rid of all of her old extra inventory, just using like a Facebook event and then using her Facebook strategy. Make sure that you check out her podcast because she walks us all the way through the strategy. That episode with Sarah is actually episode number 98, so make sure that you check that out as well. And then finally, you want to consider your ROI. That's number 6. And if you stay in the same place and you don't do anything differently, how are you going to grow and get to the next level where you want to be? So remember that. Consider the ROI of your investment. How is this going to help you get to the next level? All right, I'm about to sign off, but I wanted to share with you, make sure that you download our Momentum Marketing Scorecard over at flourishthriveacademy.com/marketing scorecard. I'll also have all this in the notes, or the show notes over at flourishthriveacademy.com/episode 120. And as you know, we have about 20 spots left in our SOS Accelerator. You've heard me probably talking about this program a lot, and I was really excited to release this to the Flourish and Thrive community at our live event. We are officially kicking off in January. However, if you make your investment now and you decide to join us, you will save yourself $1,000 because in November, we're raising the rate to $6,000. So here's the deal with the SOS Accelerator. This is a 1-year coaching program. It's designed to help you get from where you are now to where you want to be by filling in your online marketing gaps, I should say. That's why that Momentum Marketing Scorecard is super important. We have coaches in the program who are going to be coaching you, who cover all areas of expertise in the online marketing and digital marketing space, including tech help for those of you who are tech challenged, and Instagram, Facebook, social media strategy, Pinterest strategy, SEO, accountability, planning, all those things. We're really excited. We have a bunch of coaches that sort of run the gamut. If you want to check out all the program details, because there are many more, head on over to flourishthriveacademy.com/SOS. That's flourishthriveacademy.com/SOS. And yes, this is an investment in your business. It is a high-level program, but think about if you were just able to have someone take a look at your business and help you fill in the gaps, where you could be next year, how easily would you be able to cover that investment? So I want you to think about it that way. And if you're not sure if it's right for you, I would love for you to get on the phone with someone on my team so we can help you decide. It would be either me or Abby or Jessica or someone else on my team who is going to really help you walk through to help you decide if this is right for you or not. So head on over to flourishthriveacademy.com/SOS. All right, take care until next time, guys. I'll be back next week with another awesome episode.